Hey guys, today I'm going over Chapter 4, Section 3 of the Chemistry of Behavior. Alright, so we have some neuroactive drugs ease the symptoms of injury or psychiatric illness. So first we could talk about antipsychotics, typical antipsychotics, and atypical antipsychotics. So, what are antipsychotics? Antipsychotics relieve things like schizophrenia. So they act as antagonists of the dopamine receptor 2. It's like a subset of dopamine. These are usually found in the brain. An example of an antipsychotic is thorazine. It acts as an antagonist, so it blocks the receptors from being activated. So here we have another type of antipsychotic, a more focused one, typical antipsychotics. And they're good at halting hallucinations and delusions, basically the positive effects of schizophrenia. Next, we have atypical antipsychotics, and those basically are good at halting negative symptoms involving changes or impairment in behavior. These ones act on both dopamine and serotonin receptors at the same time. So next we're going to move on to antidepressants reduce chronic mood problems. So, what is an antidepressant? It's basically a medication that's used as an inhibitor. It breaks down monoamine transmitters and makes transmitters accumulate in the synapse. I should say pre-synapse, but we'll keep it going. Next we have tricyclics. I think that's how you say it. But anyways, these are the second-gen antidepressants. They increase the amount of norepinephrine and serotonin in the synapse. Now, increasing these monoamines is key to how antidepressants work. They block reuptake, which makes neurotransmitters accumulate in the actual synaptic area. Now, we could talk about selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, SSRIs. So, what are those things? They selectively allow serotonin to stay in the synapse. Now we go over serotonin norepinephrine uptake inhibitors, SNRIs. Yeah, that's pretty long. They selectively allow norepinephrine to stay in the synapse. Okay, so on to the next part. And anxiolytics combat anxiety. Okay, so what are anxiolytics? They're basically things that reduce anxiety. And next we have depressants. What are depressants? They slow down the nervous system activity. So things that do that are like alcohol and opiates. Next we have something called barbiturate drugs. Now what are those? Those are basically downers. They reduce anxiety, promote sleep, prevent epileptic seizures. And we next have benzodiazepine agonists. What are those? They help promote larger inhibitory effects of GABA receptors, basically inhibitors. They help inhibitors inhibit more than what they're used to doing. Here's an example of a benzodiazepine. Yeah, that's hard to say. My bad. Let's keep it going. We have something called orphan receptors. Basically, orphans don't really know who their parents are. So think of a ligand that we don't know about that goes in a receptor. A receptor has a specific spot that we don't know where the ligand is. The ligand is unknown, also known as the orphan receptor. What's next? Next we have the allopregnanolone. That's also another hard thing to say. I'm very sorry. It's a steroid that elevates during stress and has calming effects. Something that allopregnanolone elevates with is alcohol intake. Next we have neurosteroids. Well, the neurosteroids, basically steroids that are produced in the brain. Alright, let's keep on moving on. Opiates potentially relieve pain. So we first talk about opium, and that's extract from poppy flower seed pods. And obviously it's been used for a very long time. Next we have morphine, which is a strain of opium. And it's very powerful painkiller. Usually known to be analgesic. Yeah, another hard thing to say. My bad. What's next? Next we have heroin, which is kind of like a cousin of morphine. It's highly addictive. Morphine's also highly addictive as well. We find these guys as receptors in the brain. We find them in the limbic system, the hypothalamus, the locus coeruleus, and periaquedural gray. Where's the periaquedural gray at? That is gray matter that surrounds the cerebral aqueduct and brain stems. Now, usually when the morphine is injected into the periaqueductal gray near the brain stem, it creates opioid-like materials. Whoops, my bad. It just promotes a strong painkiller. The thing that creates opioid materials is somewhere in the body. Right here. Endogenous opioids. Okay, so what are those? Receptors that react to endogenous and exogenous opiates. So, we must have a place in our body that creates opioid-like materials, but we don't really know that yet, or at least from what I read, I don't think we do. It's implied that there must be an endogenous ligand. So, yeah, they don't really know yet. Boo. Alright, what's next? We have 3 major families of potent peptides. Those are encaphalins, endorphins, and dynorphins. So they basically relieve pain. Alright. Can we carry on? Yep, we're going to carry on. So some neuroactive drugs are used to alter conscious experiences. So, for example, we're going to talk about marijuana, obviously. It produces a pleasant reaction, mood alteration, and paranoia through the compound tetrahydrocannabinol, also known as THC. So, receptors of cannabis are found, I'll show you, in the globulus pallidus, substantial nigra, and the hippocampus. What else? We got something called anandamide. I think that's how you say that. Anyways, it's an endocannabinoid that causes alterations of memory formation, appetite stimulation, reduced sensitivity to pain, protection from excitotoxin brain damage. Yeah, I'm having trouble speaking. My bad. Anyways, moving on. Stimulants increase the activity of the nervous system. We could talk about this African shrub called khat as a stimulant. Maybe I should define what a stimulant is first. Stimulants are drugs that make you have an alert mindset, and they tip the body's balance on the more excitatory side. Yeah, I can't talk. Anyways, back to khat. Khat is an African shrub that, when you chew it, it promotes like a stimulant effect. Yeah, it acts like a stimulant. Okay, let's go to nicotine. What's nicotine? Well, we all know it's found in cigarettes and all that stuff. It increases heart rate. It increases blood pressure, secretion of hydrochloric acid in the stomach, and intestinal activity. One cigarette can fill up about 88% of your nicotine receptors in the brain. Yeah, no bueno. Alright, next we're going to go to see where these actual nicotine receptors are in the brain. You find some in the cortex, the caudate, the putamen, and the amygdala. That was wrong. That was for cocaine. Don't listen to me. That was a dumb mistake. My bad. Know that this is for cocaine. Next, we're talking about cocaine. Cocaine. This is cocaine. They don't show us where the nicotine happens to be in the brain, like through a picture like these or these. Cocaine. Anyways, cocaine. I said that a lot. cocaine. I'm going to say it again. It's purified extract from a cocoa shrub. That is a powerful stimulant. It's so powerful you could die probably on the first time of usage. Anyways, multiple uses may cause a higher risk for stroke, psychosis, and loss of brain matter. And now we're going to talk about a concept of dual dependency. Say you use cocaine with alcohol. You might get addicted to cocaine, you might get addicted to alcohol, but using them at the same time, you're going to want to have both of them. You want to have the effects of alcohol while you have the effects of coke in you. Dual dependency. You have two things you're dependent on. You need the coke and you need the alcohol in order to feel your reward feeling in your brain. Next, we're going to talk about amphetamine. It basically resembles norepinephrine, epinephrine, and dopamine. Those are also known as catecholamine transmitters. They're way more potent than methamphetamine. Doesn't really need action potential to cut across synapses, from what I understand. And it basically speeds up activity in the body by blocking reuptake of norepinephrine, epinephrine, and dopamine. And it gives the enzymes that break down these monoamines another target. So it kind of slows down the breaking down of norepinephrine, epinephrine, and dopamine. What's next? Oh, cool. Alcohol acts as both as a stimulant and a depressant. Well, this is basically stuff that we kind of already know. This is stuff we've been growing up with our whole lives. Taking in a lot of alcohol is obviously bad for you, but taking in non-excessive intervals, I guess, it helps reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease and Alzheimer's disease. Excessive drinking is known to be the cause for over 60 different kinds of diseases. We should know not to drink if you're pregnant because you might harm the baby that's inside you, put into a spectrum of fetal alcohol syndrome. If you have chronic exposure, it reduces the number of synapse connections in your regions of your brain. That test was already done in rats. But usually when the chronic exposure stops, halts completely, the synapses just go back together. But usually if it's chronic exposure, like long enough, you really rot your brain and reduce your neurogenesis, your ability to produce more neurons, and you create permanent damage. And that's about it. Don't do drugs, kids.